Okay. Hi. Um, these past few days I haven't been vlogging, and from my perspective it seems like a long time since I've done another vlog, but it's probably just been a few days. And in this few days of, what do you call it, electronic silence, where I don't post anything on the forum and don't do videos and don't write, with that time I've been establishing a stability point within myself to deal with myself. And in the past, only now, I've realized that I've mistaken this stability point to be an indication that everything is good and I don't need to do anything anymore. I'm safe now. When in fact, the stability point is just here as myself, actually, as a stable foundation for myself to do what needs to be done. And clearly, as proven by my writing and my past experience, there is a lot more to deal with in myself than all of the stuff I have uncovered these past few months. Clearly, without doubt. And also, not vlogging and writing for a few days, I now realize in experience how much slower my process is when I do not write and I do not vlog and do not discuss points, basically. And it's been boring. A bit of emotional backlash there. Yeah, it has been boring, and for me personally, I have great joy finding out more about myself and how I work, because I have always found it very strange how people go about their lives without ever thinking about themselves and how they work within what they're doing. It's strange, but not so. When I was really small, about 5 or 6 years old, one day, in one moment, I realized that what was around me, like my parents and my family, and these obligations that came out of nowhere, they weren't, if something didn't feel right about them. So in that one moment, I remember saying to myself, inside myself, I will not fully commit myself to anything, and I'll wait until I get an answer. And I never remembered this moment until now, after watching a process support video by Sunette. And very interesting, because it's only when she, with her words, brought me to awareness about my childhood and how kids see things and they want to tell their parents but forget somewhere down the line. And then after hearing that, all of these memories popped up, and what I just shared was one of those memories. Really interesting. At the same time, more and more proof, just more proof that I don't really know myself, and who I have allowed and accepted myself to create myself. Okay, so moving on to my day. Well, for the past 2 days, I've been comfortably here at home, and as usual, I found myself much more stable when I'm not around people. Because at this point in my process, well, to put it bluntly for myself, I haven't yet allowed and accepted myself to effectively deal with every single point that people present to me. And whenever I have a reaction, it's actually a reaction toward myself and my programming. Because after walking a bit in my process and deconstructing a few constructs, I now realize that any resentment or dislike or anger or any emotions or feelings, they're based on opinion. And truly, make believe somewhere up in the clouds. And I can only deal with that when I stop judging before I see, and I'm preaching. Okay, what else am I doing? Today marks the first day where I do not belong to any social group whatsoever. And I don't know whether I should take this as a good sign or a bad sign. Because I also realize the point that it is unnecessary to create unnecessary fires between people around me and to push them away, so to speak. Completely unnecessary. And to be blunt and direct again, it can be a huge inconvenience not to say that from a perspective of winning by manipulating people. It's just that it's unnecessary to make enemies, really. And after laughing at myself yesterday for finally realizing that I was scared of not being in a social group because I believed that if I wasn't part of a social group, I would lose myself. And in seeing this, I laughed at myself, and today, quite clearly, I'm no longer part of any social group. and no big social group. I'm still fairly good friends with one person. I suppose that would be a social group, sort of. But what I found fascinating was, after laughing at myself yesterday, in the realization that I don't lose myself if I'm not part of a group. Common sense, obvious. No reaction when I realized that I was no longer part of any social group. Pretty interesting, again. Because my experience was like, I was expecting myself to react, but it was never realized when I realized I was not part of a social group anymore. And in the past, I used to, in that expectation, focus on the expectation so much that what I expected recreated itself, so to speak, because I was paying so much attention to it. But this time, I simply let go and said, I've changed, and I let go, see what happens. What else? Revision. Very quick discussion. I'm now at the point where there is nowhere to run anymore in terms of procrastinating, because I either work productively in this coming winter break, or I will blow it and I will fail. I will severely underachieve in my January exam retakes. So at this moment, I'm facing the point of the polarity play out between entertainment and work, where I perceive work of any sort to be a huge mountain that I cannot handle, whereas I see entertainment as a huge mountain that lowers itself. That's an awkward analogy. Entertainment, like a big mountain that I am willing to climb. And even though there is some effort in entertaining myself, I perceive that effort to be less than the effort I place in work, simply because I create some form of fulfillment when I entertain myself with TV shows. And the most recent TV show that I started watching is The Mentalist. And the first few episodes were really interesting and quite mentally challenging for me to attempt to see what the mentalist sees, Mr. James sees, but as it went along, lost some detail from my perspective. Or maybe, well, clearly, I'm not picking up the details that the protagonist is written to see. And in that I found it this self-deceptive point where like I said before, where I believed that I was completing myself in a way with this good feeling that I derive from entertainment, when really this addiction to entertainment, like watching TV shows and animation, is really an outflow of an implicit belief that I am the role that has been thrusted onto me by society. And taking into consideration that belief, I literally attempted to fulfill what I wanted for myself by watching these TV shows, because I found a fascinating thing. These TV shows gave me the same feelings of pleasure and success, such as when a protagonist solves a case and they would get some sort of fulfillment. I would get that sense of fulfillment with them. And in that, like living a fantasy world of broken dreams, where I chain myself to this belief that I am who I am because of my parents, and so on and so forth. But I want to go there, but I can't go there. But what I can do, I can get those same feelings by watching these TV shows. So this has become a cycle, and it's time to face it now, because I have no more time and I need to start revising and stop allowing and accepting myself to perceive work as a mountain I'm not willing to climb, and to allow this polarity play out of work and entertainment to continue. And this entertainment addiction simply came from the belief that I have to improve, which implies the belief that I am not good enough, I am inferior, and I need to do something or have someone give me something that will make me superior and more. inferiority complex. And yeah, I see how my whole life I've defined myself according to how I felt I was never good enough. Yet wanting to be good enough, I sought ways to be good enough, and what I allowed and accepted was to allow and accept myself to find these illusions of emotion and feelings given to me on a silver platter like entertainment or other people's praise. So I could feel like I'm good enough and therefore fulfill my want, need, and desire to be good enough, and therefore deceive myself in that way. Okay, that's all. More walking. Thank you for watching.